Hello, scholars. So this is a slightly extended version of the comparative advantage discussion that is in the reading. And by slightly extended, I mean like way more, because when you look at the reading, there's only a little paragraph explaining what comparative advantages is as a pattern of organization. So it really doesn't do a lot of justice. But this is a really powerful pattern of organization. It probably not as simple and straightforward as problem solution, though, and not containing the same sort of psychological advantages that you might get from Monroe's motivated sequence. But it's a pattern that does a really great job of entertaining a lot of different ideas and helping people to understand what will work the best, what may not work, and what definitely doesn't work. And what comparative advantages does is it's kind of like what it sounds. It compares the advantages and a lot of times the disadvantages of different solutions. So let's say that you've been asked by your future employer to give 5 suggestions on how a problem might be solved. Now, you don't go in there and present each of the 5 as if they're the ultimate and best explanation of how the problem can be solved. Usually you have one that's your favorite. And when you explain that, you tell them why. Why do you think this one is the best one? And you go through and you talk about what works and doesn't work for each particular solution. But we use this honestly all the time in our personal lives without even realizing it. So when we go shopping for like a new toothbrush, right? And you know what a toothbrush is supposed to do for you. It cleans your teeth and your gums, right? And you go through the aisles at Target or Walmart or Whole Foods, wherever it is that you buy your toothbrush. It's probably very expensive to buy one at Whole Foods. So good for you if that's where you're buying your toothbrushes. But you look and there's 100 different toothbrushes and they've got all this information on the front, like plaque fighting power, and this one vibrates, and this one it tears apart the plaque, and this one's good for your gums, and this one is hard, and this one's soft. And you have to think about which one has the greatest advantage for you and which ones are the most disadvantage. Personally, I like a soft toothbrush. I think the hard toothbrush is just really wears right away at my teeth. I do actually get like the little electric toothbrushes, it does all the stuff, and I think it does more, though honestly I have not really looked into it. I just there's a psychology to it that helps me think like it's doing a little bit more for me. Um, but it's not just about like the functionality of the toothbrush. We also look at prices. I've never bought a $150 toothbrush, but you can buy them. And I also like now that I'm an adult, like I don't go and I don't buy the 50-cent toothbrush in the bargain bin at Walgreens now either, right? So we compare a lot of different things because there's this idea that the 50-cent toothbrush probably isn't as good, and more than likely it's not, right? It's plain and simple bristles and like the plastic, and like I'm sure it wears down a lot quicker. So you pick out a few that you're interested in and then you start looking between them. Like, all right, well, I like the price on this one, and this one's pretty close. This one's really expensive, so I'm not getting that toothbrush. So, like, the disadvantages are outweighing some of those advantages, perhaps. And then you look and say, oh, well, this one's got the interesting ridges that fit in between my teeth, and like this one, you know, now they build them where they've got the little colors in it. As the color starts to fade, it tells you you're supposed to get a new toothbrush, so that's a great advantage. And ultimately, you settle on one of those toothbrushes. And what might be the right advantage for you may not be the same thing for somebody else. For some of us, I mean, we're bargain shoppers. We got to find the best deal, right? And for others, there's a functionality to it. Like the toothbrush has to be able to do a certain number of things. Like you probably don't all buy electric toothbrushes like I do. In fact, my wife doesn't. She likes a regular toothbrush where there's no buzzing on her teeth. I think that actually annoys her a little bit. So we make a lot of shopping decisions based on that. Sometimes we let other people help us. Think about buying something off of Amazon, or would you shop online at Target, Walmart, any eBay, any electronic retailer. You see all those reviews. And the reviews help us see, because like a lot of people are talking about certain advantages that a product has or what's wrong with it, right? And they help you come to a greater understanding of what does and doesn't work. We use comparative advantages when we're trying to go out to eat. Like, what am I in the mood for tonight? What am I hungry for? And that's what I actually want to use this week's discussion for, right? I want to give you an opportunity to practice with comparative advantages. Your task, and you'll read a little bit more about it here below this video, but I want you to compare the advantages and disadvantages of 3 different local restaurants. And I've got two rules, and you've got to fall inside of each of these sets of rules. Number one, there has to be a circumstance. Now, are you bargain shopping, right? So then we're looking at cheap fast food perhaps, or like inexpensive stuff. Are you looking for locally sourced? That's a category. Are you thinking about date night? Because Valentine's Day is coming up, right? Are you thinking about where you would take your parents? Where would be family friendly? Like find some way to categorize these restaurants. And then I would like you to pick a specific grouping of food. So is it Mexican food, Portuguese, Italian? Is it a steak restaurant? Is it fast food? Is it locally sourced? Like I want each of these restaurants to fall underneath these two categories, right? And then you need to compare the advantages and disadvantages of each of the three. And ultimately, I would like you to suggest one out of those three. And you might already have this done. You might already be thinking to yourself, yep, already got it done, and that's fine. But you still need to find a couple of other restaurants to compare to it. And think about what we might be interested in. Right? Last week we found out we've got a really cool divergent range of music, so we probably might want to hear about. It's very possible we want to hear about ambiance in your restaurants. We know that everybody in here is a college student, and with no offense intended to any of you, that probably means that you don't have a lot of disposable income. I mean, if your three restaurants are going to cost us on average $200 a plate, I don't think any of us are going to be able to go. And I do okay as an instructor, but I can, don't tell my wife, but I'm not going to take her out to a $200 a head meal. And she'd probably be grateful for that because she's very frugal. But I don't want to say that in front of her, of course, right? So help us understand, like, what are the advantages of each of your three restaurants? What are the disadvantages of each of your three restaurants? And which one stands out from them? And that's what we'll do our video posting on this week. So as per usual, the initial post will be due Thursday evening by 9 p.m. And then we need responses due by Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Keep in mind, 2 responses is the medium, is meets expectations. We're looking for more to exceed expectations. All right, folks? As usual, shoot me any questions you have. I'm looking forward to what you have to offer for us, and hopefully finding some new places to eat, because as some of you know, we're kind of new to New England, so I'm excited to hear some new places. And I will see you all online here real soon.